This episode of One More Thing Before I Go is sponsored by Anchor.fm. When I first had the idea of making the show, my primary obstacle was deciding which platform to use for my recording, hosting, and distribution. Anchor made it so easy because they do all three things and much, much more. It's free. They have creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will even distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more platforms. You can make money from your podcast, whether you have 2 listeners or 2,000. It's everything you need to make a podcast, all in one place. All you have to do is download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. Hello again, friends, and welcome back to One More Thing Before I Go, the podcast that celebrates the extraordinary lives of everyday people. I'm your host, Anthony Anderson, and this episode continues our conversation with Moriah Rock. So if you're jumping in fresh, I recommend that you jump back one episode and start with the beginning of Michelle's story. It's going to make a lot more sense and make this week a lot more meaningful. Well, I don't want to waste any time, so let's get right back to the story. Here you go, part 2 with Michelle.
There was a church walking distance from me that I started attending, and it was small, and I thank God for that. It was very small. I want to say there was sometimes 20 people there. Most of them were young adults, and when I say that, they were older than me, barely, but older than me enough that I could learn from them and grow from them and not be, I was at a weird point where I wasn't youth, even though I was 18, and I couldn't relate to the youth. I never really felt like a normal teenager. I always felt like I had to grow up fast, and then the things I had to talk about weren't, let me tell you about how I'm dealing with this baby that I don't have, or, you know what I mean? Like things like that. Right. I just felt, so it ended up being perfect. It was so perfect that I had these young adults to grow with and be with. And, the passion and the vision behind that amazing group of young adults was ending human trafficking. And I wholeheartedly felt like, wow, this is something I could get behind. I felt in a lot of ways I could relate to these women and their stories. And I already, like I mentioned, when I was a kid, I've always had a heart to give and to serve others. But this just also felt like I now had a connection to this versus before. I probably would not have thought twice about it. Where now I'm like, wow, I can imagine what these women are going through, especially the ones that are pregnant and have a baby. So I jumped in and started serving with the church alongside of them. And again, there was the jobs they had were, anything and everything. And I always took the jobs that really didn't put me in the spotlight. I ran the soundboard, the light board, anything that had to do with behind the stages as well, like set up and take down.
Right.
And then we started doing conferences, and I wanted the behind the scenes jobs for those. And I liked that. I wanted to help. I wanted to do, anything I can. I'd clean the toilets. I didn't care, but I did not want to be in front of everyone either, trying to take a spotlight. And in this time I'm talking about specifically, we had a conference in San Diego, and we had pastors from all over coming in. We had sold tickets. There was over 1,000 people coming to attend. They had the pastor from Hillsong, and I cannot remember his name because I'm a mom and I have slept since then. I just remember it being a big deal. And I was just so excited to meet all these people who were going to be non-judgmental and loving. And, I was just so thrilled to serve and be a part of this, but I definitely still had the idea in my head that I didn't necessarily matter. Like they could have done it without me being there. I was given the job to be a server for the pastor's luncheon and dinner. And then I was given the job that nobody wanted. That was the enrollment, whatever that is, like front desk, as soon as these, thousands of teenagers and people are coming in, I'm checking them in at the door and giving them badges.
Okay.
So
interacting with everybody all of a sudden.
Everybody, but in a way of just like, hi, what's your name? So it wasn't too bad, I didn't necessarily have to entertain them, but it definitely wasn't something I wanted to do. And in that, again, thousands of people, these two young adult men came up to me, and they're in line. And then I'm checking them in, and they just stopped, and they're like, hold on a minute, we need to go get somebody. They bring a third person. And they're like, we've all, like, can we just talk to you for a minute? And I'm like, well, I've kind of got like hundreds of people to check in. And they're like, we really need to talk to you, but we would like you to go get the pastor of your church, because this needs to be done in front of somebody. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, I'm going to be in so much trouble. They're stopping the line and whatever, So I go get them. They come back, and we stand aside from the table, and they start talking. And they're like, the three of us, they ended up being like employees that we invited from local California, like Christian, like a Mardel's, like they sold T-shirts and stuff like that. But anyway, they said, the three of us separately have had dreams about you, and we've all been talking, and we're supposed to find you. And I know this sounds crazy and probably hard to believe, but we're just supposed to pray with you and tell you that God has like a big plan for your life. And I remember being like, what? Like that. I wasn't like, wow, what? Like, are you kidding me? Like, do you have any idea who I am? Like, I'm probably not even supposed to be here. I'm the person who does, like cleans the toilets and stuff. Like, and
I've been hiding out here for a while.
And like, the pastor of my church and his wife too, they even said, are you sure? She doesn't do a lot. Like, I wasn't the one standing up and praying for everyone. Like, like volunteering, like, please let me do it. I was just in the back, and they were like, nope, this is who it is. And, they remember them telling me something about the fact that three of them had a dream that had some biblical reference. And this was so long ago, and I did not write anything down. Like, what is happening? And they told me, we see you doing mission work, and we see you going and healing people and praying for thousands of people. And, they spoke this to me with our church there, and prayed with me and prayed with the members of our church. But I remember, like, I had this, it was exciting because it was something that definitely sounded fun to me, but I still had that, there's no way that could be ever.
Right.
So I didn't do a lot to kind of like, to organize that and go for it. And, like, let's line up my goals and, start, how do I get there?
Like
I was just like, cool. I don't know how God's going to do that with me. That'll definitely be a miracle. But yeah, like, we'll see. Like, that's some crazy stuff right there. So anyway, shortly after that, my sister, the one that was younger than me, was in a really bad car accident, and called me and said, I need you to be here. I need you to be here. And I'm not sure. They thought she was going to be paralyzed, and we weren't sure what was going to happen. So I left. I came home to be with family. It was another thing I really longed for, and went back to Oklahoma. Left the church, which, I was sad to leave, but I was always fighting myself. Do I stick with this, or do I go home? Because I know I have that. It's toxic. It's not my favorite. They're not always there for me. They don't necessarily support me, but it's family. So I went home. I moved back to Oklahoma. I moved in with my mom. I moved in with her for about a week, and she kicked me out because she told me that I changed the thermostat and I didn't even know where it was. I moved in with my younger sister and her friends, and that didn't end well for me. I, again, had in the back of my head, and when I would read my Bible, they made fun of me all the time. They called me Sister Christian. But I struggled with my identity and my coping mechanisms. I didn't just look to God like I should have. I, engaged in drugs and alcohol when they would, as a way to really numb all of this pain that I was experiencing in darkness that I wasn't. Yeah. I also wasn't sharing. I mean, even, I will say, even at the church I was going to in San Diego, I still didn't open that part of me up because I felt, like I said, like in my interactions at the mega church, it was like, oh, well, that's a lot. And that's like, we don't really know what to do with you. So I just kind of decided to keep it to myself. So again, with these new, not great friends, I was making terrible decisions, not sharing what I was really going through. It wasn't healthy. I never lost my faith in that. I just really strayed away from the Lord and, you know, what I was supposed to do and what is good. So yeah, I was not making wise or healthy choices and kind of spiraling down, and spiraling down quickly. And, I mean, during that time, I made some poor choices and I did wind up pregnant again. This time by somebody I knew and was friends with, and we weren't sure what to do necessarily. But of course, like I said before, I knew in my heart that, you know, life was the only option. So we just kind of took it step by step from there and tried to see where things would go. And that is how I ended up in Orlando. That is where my son, Benea's father, is from. So I moved in with his mom. And during that time, I really learned a lot about family. And I learned, I mean, if I could wrap that whole entire part of my life up into a title, it would be that family isn't blood. You know, things with Benea's father didn't necessarily work out in the sense that we're one big happy family. But with his mother, it did. In that situation, Benea was given life, and he's been a blessing to me and many others. But he has an amazing grandmother, and I gained a mother-in-law, in a sense. That's what I call her, mom. But I mean,
for those of you who have been hearing it in the background, the piano playing earlier was Benea.
yes. He's working on piano lessons. I homeschool, so they're here. But yeah, Linda saved me in a lot of ways. She got me, back into church where I met Anthony and showed me like what a mother's love is and in a lot of ways that a family works. And to this day has, just unconditionally been that for me and for Benea. But I'm a little selfish when I say that. Like, yeah, Benea does have a wonderful grandma, but like I have this amazing mom. So, yeah, then that's where I met you, right?
Yeah.
At church down the street.
You came into youth group one day. We were helping with that, and you kind of established right away, well, I'm a little too old for this group, but I really want to jump in and help out. And
I did try the young adult class, but they were much older than me, and they were all married. And again, my story was like, okay, first of all, I have this whole other weird thing, and now I'm in this situation, and I'm not married, and we're not going to get married. Yeah, my life's a mess. Nice to meet you. And I was like, okay, this does not fit me. I need to try a different class. And that's where I met you guys. And I was like, yeah, I might not be a youth, but I probably fit in here more than anywhere. I don't know, I feel like I've never fit in. Like, I think that's just me. And I accept it now. I'm weird. I love it. It is what it is. And I think I remember struggling through abandonment issues and this loss of thinking I should have arrived by now. And I know you guys helped me work through a lot of that. Feeling those feelings of, I thought this was it. I thought for sure now, and, I'll have that whole family and my heart will be full. And it still wasn't. A part of it was in the sense that I had this wonderful mother and this wonderful son who's incredibly talented and kind and has the best manners, very smart. But I just really felt like something was still missing, and I felt,
why don't I feel full?
Yeah, I was really angry about that for a long time. I thought, this isn't right. Not a long time, but just during that pregnancy, and like, why this should be it. Like, I get what I wanted, in a sense, you know, like I wanted a family, but not necessarily by those means. That's just kind of how it played out because I made poor choices. And yeah, you guys helped me really work through that, and I really appreciate that. But so shortly after that, I moved to Daytona with a friend. Her name's Brandy. I love her very much. And I got a temporary job at Harley Davidson. I had never been on a motorcycle. I was terrified of them, and I knew absolutely nothing about them. But they still hired me. Yeah, they were hiring, and they hired me to be the parts counter person, which still I'm like, God, you do the weirdest things. Like, I knew nothing about that. Like, to the point, like, it was 2 wheels and an engine to me. And they'd be like, I've got a blah, 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 and I'm looking for this part. And I'd just be like, here's the book, buddy. You're going to have to find it yourself, but I can take your money. Like, that shouldn't have happened. I should not have worked there, but I did.
Yeah.
And I met Kevin. I met Kevin when Benea was about 3 months old. So that, like, puts it in a timeline. We dated for a while. And then we got married. There's not a lot to that story. I will say in the beginning, I told him, you know, this is me, and I'm going to be super honest with you because my life has been a disaster. I have a terrible family. So if you're looking to like marry somebody or, you know, be with somebody and like go to the in-laws, like it's not going to happen. I have no money. I have a car and, you know, like, I don't know, not a lot of cool things to offer you, but I have my heart and I'm very generous and willing to give. And then I told him about Kaya, my daughter, and I told him about Benea, and he was just so accepting of just me and not what had happened to me or what I had done or any of those things. He just loved me for who I was and was willing to walk with me through all of those things. And he has. I mean, at that point, I was far from healing. And he, I mean, still to this day, walks me through it if I'm upset or whatever. He's been a huge blessing. And yeah, so we got married, and you officiated our wedding, and we got married in Daytona, and it was very cold. That was like the one night that it got like, what, 32?
Yeah, it was pretty chilly, and we were out on the beach with the wind whipping around and everything. But
the day before it was 70. The day before we had like a rehearsal, and I went to the little restaurant deck at the top, and it was beautiful. And then the next day it was so cold. I was like, why? Oh, because this is part of my story.
I had just been at a wedding the day before in Palm Beach, and yeah, it was 30-40 degree difference just driving up, and what in the world's going on? Or did we make a wrong turn and end up in South Carolina?
Yeah, it was so cold.
And you guys have you just had an anniversary?
We did.
Or it's coming up?
November.
Yeah.
Yes. We've been married for 5 years.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. It goes by quick, you know? But we've learned a lot and we've grown a lot, and it's wonderful. We love it. Just so you guys know, we think marriage is the greatest. I think everyone should get married.
I approve.
Marriage is awesome. So anyway, after my husband and I got married, we, again, and this was me, and he still says, you know, like, you're the reason we did that when I'm talking about it. I just had this overwhelming longing and desire to a fault that I wanted this wholesome family life. I wanted grandparents for my kids to visit, and, you know, big Thanksgivings and Christmases where we weren't alone. I mean, Kevin and I had our Christmas, and it was just me, him, and Benea, and we, you know, like that, it was wonderful and beautiful in that sense. But like, once you open presents and eat your breakfast, you're just sitting there, and like, Benea wants someone to play with. Yeah, like he wants someone to play with. He doesn't just want to play with his train by himself. And like, we were like, okay, everything's closed. We don't know anybody here outside of our friends who are all with their families. So, you know, there was this like, and I would push him like, I wish we had that. I wish we had that. Like, what could we do? And he's like, well, we could always move to my hometown. So we did. We did. And not only did we move there, but my husband purchased a business. And it was going really well, but I still had that longing. Unfortunately, it wasn't fulfilled there. And I think a lot of that might have been, you know, my expectations and the amount of just that that is definitely, it's one of my greatest flaws and also best characteristics. I have very high expectations. I hold myself and others to them, and when they're not met, it's not fun for me.
Yeah.
I had this
Or anybody else.
yeah. I had this just idea that we would become this one big happy family, and I didn't for once consider that others are also broken, and others are not perfect, and that others sin, and that others might not be as accepting of me and as Kevin was,
Right.
like I do have a story, and it's not pretty, and it's a lot to take in, and I'm often not open to share all of it, especially at once. So when you don't know and you're just led to assume, it can go anywhere.
Yep.
So all that being said, my heart was not whole. The hole was not filled, and it was not as beautiful as either of us anticipated. We had a very hard time there, and we still lacked in community. We didn't find a church. We did not find a friend group. We felt alone in our marriage and alone in our family. We wanted Benea to have friends. We wanted to have other married couples who respected marriage and wanted to do life with us. And again, me, like to be pushy, I said, why don't we try? Like the memories I have, like of my little church, like my little small town, everyone knew everyone, like try that. Like, why don't we go back to my town? Because I longed for family so much. I just, in a community that I couldn't just continue living my life there. I felt empty. So we moved to Oklahoma, and it was the best thing we've done ever together. I guess I should say, since we got married and up and a few years into Oklahoma, Kevin and I decided we wanted to have more children. And we started immediately once we were married. Like, we knew, like, the day I was ovulating, and we didn't conceive Eden for 3 years, which was a shock to both of us, considering, no, being raped and being pregnant, and then just like me being a careless young adult and getting pregnant quickly. Like, I thought for sure that it wasn't going to be hard. So again, that was another area where we had to like grow, and we struggled and thought, like, is this part of God's plan, or what's the deal? And I just wanted this family so bad, and was so frustrated, and like, how could it just happen so easy? And now I can't. Like, now I have this perfect husband and this family, and it's not happening. That's when my husband and I, we took a class, and it was, again, both of us just had this longing in our heart of, there's something missing. There was something missing, and we were in church, so it wasn't necessarily God, but if I could pinpoint it, I would say it was our purpose, and not just our purpose as individuals, our purpose as a couple. I mean, where two people come together, God says when they're married, they become one flesh. And it was our purpose as a married couple. Like, what was our purpose? It obviously was not this wholesome family that we were trying for. It wasn't me working 9 to 5 and going to school for education, and my husband working 7 to 7 and just, fixing motorcycles every day for us to come home to dinner and piles of laundry and trying to cram in any kind of family time that we desperately wanted. So Kevin and I took this class on a kind of a whim. They offered childcare and a free meal, which we were all about. Like, like I said, we've just not had a lot of family support. So we very rarely had babysitters. So we were like, oh, cool, time to be alone where we're not at work. And,
Date night with other people.
Yeah, like, this is going to be fun. And not only that, but like, find our purpose. Like, we weren't sure, like, can you actually do that in a class? Like, I doubt it. Now, I will tell you, this class was just based off of verses from the Bible. That's it. Like, there was no like crazy anything to it. I love that all of our problems, all of our concerns, and anything really can just be found there if we'll just look. And man, I should have just done that. So we go to this class, and we're at a table full of people. We write down our entire lives on this timeline, Kevin and I both. And we had talked time and time again on how there's no way, like, we knew we loved each other and we're married and we're happy that we're, but we didn't necessarily know how our lives fit together outside of we loved each other. He often said stuff to me like, you know, like, you want to do mission work and I could never like go with you. What do I do? Fix people's motorcycles? Like, I don't have anything to offer. I just don't like, I know how I could be part of your life there. And I really want to be. And I constantly was telling him, and especially at this time, I guess I should say we were pregnant. We were very, 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 very excited because we had tried for 3 years. And we found out we were pregnant. So I had a baby on the way when we did this. And I had this like overwhelming, like I had already been feeling like it with Benea, leaving him at school, even though I worked at the school and got to see him every day. I wanted more. Like I was just not satisfied with making a paycheck and work, you know, like leaving my family and just for money so my kids could have the cool clothes or the, you know, I could have the cool new lipstick and iPhone or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then to just play catch up all weekend and try to force in family time between laundry and dishes and grocery shopping. Like, I don't know about you guys, grocery shopping takes hours. Like, I don't know how people get anything else done besides laundry and groceries on the weekend. It was something I struggled with daily. Like daily, I prayed and I cried and I thought there's got to be more than life than this. That was always my, like, for my entire life up until that point, I literally constantly, that was in my mind. Life cannot just be this. It cannot just be you go through this horrible stuff and this trauma, you get this marriage that you wanted. It was overwhelming. I felt like I was missing out on Benea, like he had grown so fast. And I knew I missed Kaya. And I think because of that, the desire and the longing was more so that I didn't want to miss my children. Like knowing that you have one out there that you've missed, the, you know, walking and talking and just those wonderful moments.
It's bad enough that you're missing one that you're not physically present with, and you have the opportunity to be physically present and you're still missing it.
Right. It was, and that was overwhelming for me. I think it drove a lot of my decisions and my parenting and as well as my childhood. Like I said, growing up, I didn't have that. And I knew I wanted. What? You're going to put glitter on his boo-boos? Yeah. Okay, I guess. Oh, get it on. Okay, go put glitter on his boo-boos. Go play doctor. I'm going to have a mess when I'm done. But they will be happy. So, okay. I have a vacuum. It'll be all right. Yeah, I longed for this family so much so that once it was within my grip, I was so afraid to lose it. And when I say lose it, it was to life, like the hustle and bustle of the world we live in, the drop them off at 6 a.m. so you can get to work by 8. And you know what I mean? Like they're there all day with these 16, 17, 18-year-olds who make barely more than minimum wage and sing songs and play with your kids, where like that, I just felt nothing about that felt right. Now, yes, Benea was learning and having fun. He could write his name by the time he was 3. But did me and him share this amazing bond and wonderful memories and explore nature? And, you know, did he know the Lord and was prayer his first language? No, none of the things I cared about, I wasn't able to share with my son. He knew nothing of my heart for helping others. He saw a stressed out mommy who was tired often at the end of the night when I finally got time with him, that had to still put him to bed at 8. I had to get up early. Anyway, I was having this other baby and I thought, you know, the same, like, here I am, I'm going to, and I was climbing up the corporate ladder at work. I was doing really well. Things there were great. And I was really good at my job. It weirdly was like second nature to, education and all of that it was fun. It was easy. There really wasn't a reason I should have left other than my heart. My heart was hurting and I was so afraid to have this baby and just hand her over to an 18-year-old in a room full of 7 other babies so that I could go, you know, fill out paperwork and create curriculum and then go home and tell them I'm too to spend time with them 5 days a week. So that was something I shared with Kevin often, and he knew that was heavy on my heart. So when we had wrote out,
when you didn't want him to experience what you had grown up with,
right? So that was also why I worked, because I wanted them to have all the soaps.
But how do you balance that with mommy's not around, mommy's not available, I can't actually spend time with the person that I want to be closest to?
Right.
So I can see the balance wasn't there.
And I think often, because I've always felt so different, I also held on a little bit to what I thought had to be normal and what I thought society's expectations were of me, if that makes sense. So I kind of thought, well, every other mother I know works at the time, and that was my reality. So that's what I need to do. Everyone gets their hair done and goes to the gym. So I need a gym membership, and I need to be able to pay for this. And these things that I thought, okay, I need to compare myself, and I need to live up to this, because I don't know what's normal, and I don't know what a family is like. And I just wanted so badly to create this thing that I didn't know what it was. I just knew I longed for it.
Yeah. And I need to prove to.
Right. I tried really hard to just be this thing for my family and myself, that we would have this wonderful, wholesome life. But at the end of every day, it wasn't that. And, I felt like I was missing out on Benea's entire childhood and forcing him to grow up. And then I'm having this baby and bringing it to, and it crushed me. So we're in this class, right? Trying to figure it out, writing out all of our stuff. And it was so funny. The girl across the table, we're all supposed to be doing our own stuff, by the way. She just started crying and was like, "It's so beautiful." And we're like, "What? Like what?" Because, we're all talking it out. And she's like, "Can't you see? Can you not see? Like, God has just laid it out for you." And looking back, wow, we didn't see this, but it was beautiful. And he did use Kevin and I, both of our, ashes per se, to make something that he could use, make beautiful, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's why community is so huge, because it was right there in front of you and you weren't seeing it. It took somebody else to tell you. Yeah.
Right. And she said, you're going to school for education. Why don't you homeschool your children? You'll be with them every day, and you will teach them, your values. That was one of my concerns, the most important things to me weren't what the house we live in or the car we drive or how much money they make or whatever. It's, justice and compassion and generosity and respect and sacrifice and selflessness and peace. And how do I share that with my children when I'm exhausted, when I'm not giving, when I'm not being selfless other than working my butt off for a paycheck? How do I teach them that? And she's like, this woman across the table says, homeschool them, and you can teach them anything you want, and you can take them on mission trips. Because I remember that was one of my things was, I can't go to other countries. I can't leave my family behind. I can't leave Kevin here with 2, maybe more children to go serve others when I have people to serve at home who need me, who need to be taught these things. And so it's funny how she's just like, well, duh, stay home, homeschool them. And then when they're old enough, take them with you. That will be part of your homeschool. You can teach them the things that you care so deeply about. And I that hit me. And not only did that hit me, but it reminded me of, those people I met so long ago that prayed that over me and that I thought was so unattainable. And now I'm like, oh, maybe this is still part of God's plan for me. And maybe I will still serve others and, be a light in a dark world. Yes. Yes. You're screaming. I hear you. Why are you screaming? You don't know? You don't? Well, can I help you with something? What would you like?
Do they want to say hello?
Do you want to say hi? Put your ear right here. Say hello. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
She doesn't know how to answer that question. She's just like, what? Yeah. Can you say hi? Hi. Say, my name's Eden.
I'm Eden.
Hi, Eden. I'm Anthony.
Say Anthony.
Anthony.
That's pretty good. I'm a friend of Mommy's.
Yeah, that's my friend. We're talking. Can I finish talking to him? So you can go play? Thank you. I love you. Thank you. What was I telling you? Oh, okay. So the girl across the table is explaining this to me. And of course, just me being me and not trusting God, as I really just need to let go of everything. I'm like, well, that all sounds wonderful, but how will I pay my bills? I just don't know how that would work, and how would my husband fit in that? 'Cause I feel like, yeah, cool, that just still brings me and my kids into it, but not my husband, who is literally like 7 to 7 every day, and we don't see him. So then he opens up his stuff and he shares with me and tells me that he always had this dream of being a firefighter. And I didn't know that. In that hustle and bustle and busyness of our life, there was so much I didn't know about my husband. And, as far as I knew, he wanted to be a Harley mechanic and just, slave away doing hard physical labor every day. A lot of that was because of the hustle and bustle of our busy lives. I mean, we got married, but we both worked. As soon as our wedding was over, we were back at work. We didn't have a lot of time to share things with each other. When we were together, we were both catching up on chores and shopping and paying bills and, playing with Benea and things like that. I can say now, being home and just being available to him and for him, I've learned so much more about him.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And it's amazing. And yeah, instead of having to also come home at this, and say, well, I'm not making dinner either because I'm tired, and you're never going to believe what happened at work today. And I have to be up early in the morning because I have to go in early. Like, there's not any of that. I'm just, hey, my plate's already open for you. Unload. Like, let me hear it. Let's talk. So anyway, he shared that with me, and the woman across from us at the table says the same kind of, can't you see, like, if he does that, not only will that get, how their schedules work, he'll have so much time off to go with you, but he'll have more than one thing to offer people. He'll have medical training, and he can fix motorcycles.
Yep.
And then you guys can do it as a family, serving God and honoring God and teaching your children that that's what's most important to you. And I mean, really, that was it. It was just so eye-opening, and what he really wanted and what I really wanted, and they fit together. And we would have never thought that. And it was just so beautiful to see, like, God did bring us through all of these things that led up to, and my husband, he's got his own story of the reasons he wants to do what he wants to do, but they led up to this beautiful connection between the two of us where we can do the things that we want to do that honor God and serve others. And we really just give him all the glory for that, because our lives wouldn't be what they were if it wasn't for him, and we couldn't do what we're doing now. So we did have Eden. She's now 2.5. My husband quit his job and I quit my job, and he worked at a taco shop to get through school. Things were very tight then, but I was used to that. I knew how to work my way around that because of my childhood. We paid for his school. We had support from Benea's grandma, the one I call my mom, a lot of support from her and from my dad, which was wonderful. We made it through 2 years of him going to school and training. He was a first responder. He worked on an ambulance for a while, and he just recently got on as a firefighter.
Which is awesome.
So, we are just so blessed by that, and so thankful. That is the first, one of the first steps towards what we have now laid out, other big God-given dreams and goals and things that have been put on our heart. We are hoping to foster and adopt soon. That was also part of kind of what we wrote down that same day. So that is something where we're working towards. And yeah, I homeschool. I stay home with my kids. I'm with them every day. I don't miss anything. I pour scripture after scripture into their little hearts, hoping that they will just take hold of that and have them for their, times of need when I'm gone one day, or they're just out in the world and don't feel like calling mom, or, you know,
Yeah.
anything they'll come across, that they'll have these and they'll be able to hold on to them. And I'm looking forward to the day that we can all go serve others together. Right now, they're just way too
Right.
young.
And so suddenly
And
the thing that you thought was so unattainable that was told to you back when you were a teenager, you kind of have a pathway now in that direction.
yeah. And now that it's here, yeah, it's beautiful for one. Our life is so beautiful. I can't say that enough. We have another baby on the way, which again, like, took 2 years. And we are just so thankful for that. We are a part of a wonderful small church that is very big on community. We have made our own family through that. And because of our huge lack and desire to have this whole family, both of our hearts were for foster care. And we had written that down separately, which was also beautiful to see that come together. So we would, also, like, we have the means now financially, and with the home that we're in and the space, we have the means as a family to provide the things that we wanted for so long for others, and to love people that don't have people to love them, and to give back, to live life the way Christ wants us to.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I've loved being able to watch on social media, and when we get a chance to talk and catch up, just see how everything, it's the next thing and the next thing. And it's always moving forward into some new amazing adventure. At least that's what I see. I'm sure for you, it may not feel like that, but
No, I mean, it's the beauty in it. Yeah. Like, and it's fun. It's so much fun when your perspective changes on not on like what we want and what we can get, but what we can give. Like, instead of me just having this, I want this family, and I want to give that.
mm-hmm.
I want to give that back. I want to provide that for other young adults, for other people out there like me and my husband that don't have family around, or that do, but maybe they're toxic and they're not people they go to for help with parenting and with homeschool or marriage or whatever they're going through. And for the children, I mean, the state of Oklahoma, we have a very high, very, very high foster rate, which is very sad. And so there's a need. Like, why not give our space and our heart and our love to them, if that makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you guys have been able to craft the perfect space. And it's not, your family is not the type of thing that where you're going to wear the typical mask and try to hide. Everything's kind of just, it's out there, it's out in the open, because at this point, what do you have to hide, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So if you were to be able to tie a neat little bow on your story so far, because I believe wholeheartedly what everybody else has been telling you, that God still has an amazing plan for where you and your little family are going. So I would not say this is the end of the story. I would say you're somewhere just at the very beginning still. But if you were to tie a little a bow on this chapter so far, what would be the one more thing before we go today?
Oh, that's a good one. I think when God he has a plan for everybody, but when you just kind of seek that plan, he will provide. He'll provide a way for you every time. And we have seen that, I mean, through our life, but definitely in this last chapter, he made a way for my husband to go to school, for me to stay home and homeschool. He's given him this job. He's blessed us with a baby. There's so much more to that I could go on and on forever, but he has a good plan for everybody. One of my favorite verses is Matthew 6:33. It is seek first the kingdom of God, and all other things will be added unto you. He will give you everything you need. He cares deeply about you. He will give you the face soap and the foot soap. Not that that's really, really a need, but he cares about us. But we have to, like I said earlier, we have to seek him. If I would have maybe opened my Bible and really sought this sooner, what would our lives be? I don't know. But I would encourage other people to do that. Where there is no vision, the people perish. And that's in Proverbs 29:18. Find your vision with your husband or just yourself, and seek out wisdom in the Bible and from others in your community. You definitely need community and family to do this. And family is not always blood, as we have learned.
Yep.
But when you seek him, you'll find him. You just got to try. Also, a Bible verse. It's in there. Everything we need is in there.
Well, I have loved spending time with you. And for those who have made it through with us, you heard both Benea and Eden in the background, and I'm going to do my best to edit some of that out. But I wanted this to be as raw as we've always been able to be with each other. And I think that's the organic thing, that we don't hide who we are. So I'm going to leave a lot of that in the background because I want to, because it's real. And there's no point in producing, a podcast that's talking about how important it is to be real with ourselves and with each other and God if we're, hyper producing it. So,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, we got so much more that we can talk about, and I'm eager to hear some more stories and what you're working on with the kids and stuff. Can you come back on at some point? Can we do this again?
I would love to share about our homeschool. We're very, very passionate about it, my husband and I, and would love to share more about that. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, for now, I know you know this, but I'm going to tell you again, we love you. We're proud of you and your family, and we wish we could see you more. But hopefully now there's a bigger family that has heard your story and are just as excited about where God's taking you as we are.
Thank you. Thank you so much for giving me the space and the freedom to share and walking me through my fear of sharing. Everyone has a story, and I do think God uses them to bless and encourage others. So thank you. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for coming on. You did well.
Thank you. We'll have to see. I'll have to, I don't know. Maybe I just will never listen to this. I don't. We'll see how it goes.
Well, that's all the time we have for this week. If you like what you heard, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you do your listening. You can even interact with me directly if you go to anchor.fm/One More Thing Podcast. That's the number 1 More Thing Podcast. There you can click on a link to send a voice message. That's a great way to give feedback or let me know if you too would like to be a guest on the show. It's that easy. Special thanks goes out to BigFish_music for providing our theme music and transitions. If you like what you heard, go check him out on Instagram or Facebook. Thanks again for listening to One More Thing Before I Go. Until next time, be good to yourself and be good to others.